Okay. Sometimes it's the really simple and stupid stuff that never gets any attention. Secrets of lenses. Ta-da, ta-da! I've got too many lenses, that's for damn sure. Okay, let's take a look. For example, this is an example. 24 millimeter f1.8G. Just the tits. Sharp as hell. Identically, so is the case. The 20 millimeter f1.8G Nikkor. The Voigtlander 58, which is just really cheap in price, but incredible quality. What's the case? What's the difference between these two that we need to consider? Now, before buying too many lenses, say you want the range between 24 millimeters and 35. Well, I'm gonna have to have a 24 millimeter and a 35. Well, yeah, I understand that. Well, I found a cheap 35 millimeter lens. You say it's good enough, and I found a cheap 24 that you say is good enough, like a D series f2.8 autofocus 24 millimeter. Or say, for example, you want a 20 millimeter. Get what 20 millimeter f2.8 D series. Not so sharp. This is where actual resolution or sharpness bears importance. And I'm all against everybody says, how sharp is it? How sharp? Lenses have lots of different attributes instead of just sharpness, and they all need to be considered. You can't be like an alcoholic. It's like, how much alcohol's in that thing? That's all that matters. Get me drunk the fastest. I don't care if it's like diesel fuel, as long as it's high alcohol content. This is the same people that talk about sharpness. One place where it does come important, and it's important anywhere, obviously nobody wants an unsharp lens. However, it is the case that unless there's been a design flaw in manufacture the past few years, you're going to get a sharp lens. Unless, of course, it's a Sigma, then you shouldn't be buying it at all. So let's just forget that Sigma even exists. A good Nikkor, a good Zeiss lens, a good Voigtlander lens, a good Tamron lens, you're going to get a sharp lens. Okay, so then you need to consider all these other important criteria. But that's not the point of this video. Instead of pissing money away, instead of like buying a 20 millimeter 2.8, which is cheap, and the reason it's cheap is it's kind of slow autofocus, which isn't that important, but it ain't that sharp. I've owned many of those lenses, most of which, of course, I've sold. And having a 28 millimeter, I want everything between 20 millimeter and 35 millimeter. So I'm gonna get a 20 and a 28 and a 35. Or I want everything between 24 and 35. So I'm gonna get a 24, 28, and a 35, or at least a 24 and a 35 millimeter. They don't have to be expensive as long as they're good. Well, here's an idea. It's like, get to the point, you fat schmuck. Okay, here's the point. Instead of spending $350 on one lens and $350 on another, how about you buy one lens, which of course is basically twice the price. This lens is $750. I'm saying, for example, like three lenses, 24 millimeter, 28, and 35. I can take this lens at 24 millimeter, and it is the resolution is so incredible on it that I can crop it just fine at 28 millimeter. I can crop it just fine at 35 millimeter. And then you've got one lens to cover it all. Then you have to ask yourself, what is your primary working focal? Well, for street photography, I would say 35 and 28 for a lot of people. I kind of hate the 28 because it's kind of like a third nipple, a fifth wheel, useless as, testicles on the Pope. But why not just buy one really good sharp lens that you know that you can crop and you're not going to have to worry about resolution issues? Frame it at 24 even though you're going to be shooting street at 35. The results out of this lens, as opposed to a cheap AIS 35mm f2, it is the case that this will resolve out better at 35mm cropped than the 35mm f2 AIS will at 35mm. Oh my god. Yeah, but that lens is cheap, so ultimately haven't you kind of spent just as much money? If I get 2 or 3 really cheap lenses, or one kind of expensive lens, this one's $750 for example, or like the 20mm f1.8G, which is $800, well, it's kind of the same money. Yeah, but you know how fun it is swapping lenses back and forth? Why not have one really good lens that's just like a shotgun that is so damn sharp and so good that it doesn't matter if it's going to be a 24mm shot or a 35mm or a 28. You've got one lens and it's just sitting on front of the camera. You don't have to swap it out. That is a huge gift. That's a huge gift that's, you kind of can't put a price on. And when you're out there with one lens that you know is just so sharp that, yeah, if I got to crop it to 35, I'm not worried about the resolution. It's an AFS lens. It's really fast autofocus. Yeah, it's kind of plasticky, but the optics and the output are incredible. So there's nothing to complain about this lens, the 24mm 1.8G or the 20mm 1.8G. Both of those lenses are just tougher than woodpecker lips. They're just, to me these lenses get more action than a $5 hooker behind a revolving door at a Navy seaport. Someone's going to laugh over that one. So consider that, in your philosophy of snagging lenses, that instead of buying, 2 or 3 lenses to cover these various focal lengths, how about just one expensive lens that's just so tack sharp that you got no issue cropping it? You're not going to have any issue cropping it. I got no issue cropping this 24 to 35 millimeter. No issue at all. And other than a 35 millimeter G series, this will blow the piss out of everything else that Nikon makes at 35 millimeter, other than the G series at 35 millimeter. So this blows everything else out that Nikon carries at 35 millimeters cropped. This 24 millimeter cropped at 35 millimeters will blow every other Nikkor away, except for, of course, the 35 millimeter, either the 1.4 or the 1.8. So that's a point to consider. And I said you don't have to swap lenses either, so consider that in your philosophy of simplicity as far as not pissing money away on lenses unnecessarily. Just get one good lens. You don't have to take out the damn camera. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Bye.